Hi, I'm Pat Dorsey, Director of Equity Research at Morningstar. Well, another day, another 4% loss in most of the major market indices as the stock market heads back down towards the November lows. Thought it would be worth taking a look and thinking about, how the economy and the markets tend to recover. Is it all at once? Is it a V-shape? Is it in fits and starts? And I have with me Associate Director for Economic Analysis at Morningstar, Bob Johnson, to talk through some of the details. Thanks for joining me, Bob.
Yeah, nice to be here.
So these recoveries are never in a straight line, right? I mean, it's usually sort of fits and starts. Maybe you get a little bit of a recovery, and then we kind of slump back down again before demand really picks up.
Absolutely. If you look back over history, one of the very interesting things is that 6 of the last 10 recessions have been so-called double dip recessions, where we start, we have the 1 or 2 quarters of down results, then we go up for a quarter or two, and then we come back down again. So it's a fairly typical pattern. We don't have 3 bad ones in a row and then 10 up ones in a row. It tends to be as fits and starts.
And given that uncertainty, obviously, trying to pick an exact bottom is a bit of a fool's errand. I mean, I'm kind of reminded of a point that Jeremy Grantham of GMO has made a few times, especially when I saw him speak here in Chicago recently, that no matter what you do in trying to pick a bottom, you're going to regret it. If you put a little bit of money in now and we go straight up, you're going to think, I should have put it all in. If you don't put anything in now and we go straight up, you're going to feel regret. And if we go down from here, you're going to feel regret. So the best strategy, as always, is a little bit at a time when you think the odds are in your favor.
Absolutely. It never hurts to work your way back in slowly. He, for example, has moved up his percentage every month. So he's gone from 45% equity to something like 65% equity over the last 3 months. So he hasn't worked all his money in at once. He didn't throw it all in at one time. You got to be careful about your reentry points and put a little bit in over time. A lot of people have espoused a theory where, well, maybe as it starts to get down towards 600-700, which could be a low that we might potentially see, that maybe then they go all in. That's in kind of an historic level where people have thought about getting in.
And that's an important point to make, which is that, just as markets overshoot on the upside, markets were arguably crazily irrational as early as, late 98. They stayed crazy irrational for another year and a half before the tech bubble popped,
Yeah.
Who would have thought Cisco goes from 50 times earnings to 80 and 90 times earnings?
Exactly.
They can overshoot on the downside, too. And just because things are getting cheap doesn't mean they can't get irrationally cheap before they come back.
Exactly. So you shouldn't be in equities if you can't live with the thought that you're going to see an S&P level in the 600 and 700 range, which would be consistent with the 73 and 81 recession. So again, you might want to inch back in over time. We're not saying that's where the market's headed. Maybe it bounces, but you shouldn't be in equities unless you feel that you can live with something like that.
And of course, the flip side is that, just as markets overreact on the downside, they tend to project out these, in the good times, they project out good times forever, and in the bad times, they project out bad times forever. I mean, we aren't going to have sort of, banks at the brink of, disaster forever. We are going to probably see consumer spending rebound at some point, perhaps not to the levels of the past, but it doesn't seem credible to say it would stay this low for the foreseeable future.
That's right. I mean, people kind of forget that, nobody really saw things exactly as they laid out at the top and at the bottom, and everybody thought it would have good times for a long time yet, and now at the bottom, everybody projects bad times for a long time, but things do tend to move around, and again, you can find signs on either side. You need to keep an open mind and watch what's happening in the market. We, for example, are watching home inventories as being one of the key things that we want to keep an eye on over time. When that number gets below 3 million units, that's when we start to think maybe we finally hit a bottom. Maybe we've started clearing out some of the housing mess because real estate got us in, and we're hoping real estate gets us out. So that's one of the key things we're watching.
And that's largely going to be a factor of time, I would think, because all of this foreclosure mitigation lets, help people stay in their homes longer. The bottom line is if you can't afford the house, you can't afford the house.
Right.
And the only thing that really changes that process is either the asset value coming back up again, which means the economy's got to come back, or inventories have to come back down, or some real wage growth so that, you can afford it better. And we're not seeing a whole heck of a lot of that in the midst of a declining economy.
Yep, absolutely. And I would also add one other thing that will help clear the housing glut a little bit is just as passage of time, as you said, but also with passage of time comes population growth. Every year we kind of add 3 million more people to the housing age purchasers, so that's something that also brings things along. For now, people are moving back home, but I think as we move through time, people will get tired of that and move out, and that's also another factor that will help clear up that inventory over time. And that's a key number that we're watching. Certainly we've come a long ways. TED spreads was another area that we looked at, and that one has come into a range where some of those problems have been solved, and that was one of our other key indicators we wanted to watch, and that actually has gotten into a safe zone here, kind of, so to speak.
Great stuff. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm Pat Dorsey, and thanks for watching.